Let's talk about this with Brit Hume, Fox News senior political analyst, and Chris Darwalt, Fox News politics editor and the editor of Halftime Report. Brit, if I could start with you, because I wondered if you had a little deja vu all over again when you saw this news break over the weekend. And then you have Senator Collins of Maine tweet that came out just a short time ago. Professor Ford and Judge Kavanaugh should both testify under oath before the Judiciary Committee. And in addition to that, she says she is going to speak outside of her office on camera at 4 p.m. this afternoon. What might she say?
I have no idea what she's going to say. I assume she will affirm that this episode occurred. And the parallels, I must say, when you mentioned deja vu to the Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill situation are really quite striking. It was very late in the process when Anita Hill came forward with this allegation of improper sexual conversations from Clarence Thomas to her. And that resulted in last-minute hearings at which she testified, to the point, Dana, where we even had a hearing at one time on a Sunday in the Senate Judiciary Committee. And I remember being at a football game. I was assigned to the White House, so I didn't have to cover the hearings, but I never missed a word. And I was at the game watching the Washington Redskins play. I can't remember against whom. And I had the game in front of me and the hearing on the radio and a headset in my ear. Intense times they were, and in the end, of course, it was kind of a standoff. Anita Hill couldn't prove her allegations. Clarence Thomas, although he certainly denied them, never could disprove them, and it ended up in kind of a standoff, and he got confirmed.
Brit, to John Roberts' point that he just mentioned, that the White House is allowing the Judiciary Committee to decide how to move forward with what type of a hearing they might have. Can you remind us, like in 1991, was there closed testimony and then public testimony after that?
I don't remember whether there was any. There might have been staff interviews, but I don't remember any. All I remember was the hearing. Yeah. And they were in the old caucus room, which I guess the Judiciary Committee isn't using anymore, where many famous hearings had occurred. And in the end, of course, it was Thomas who basically said, look, this is a lynching, a high-tech lynching of an uppity black man. And that seemed to scare the daylights out of some of the Democrats on the committee. The Democrats held the Senate in those days 56-44. And Thomas ended up being confirmed 52-48. And Arlen Specter, Republican senator from Pennsylvania, whom we all remember, who had been a prosecutor and was a noted cross-examiner, cross-examined Anita Hill and called her a perjurer. Right. Publicly called her a perjurer. Right. I don't think there's a snowball's chance that any such accusation will be hurled at this witness in this current Me Too atmosphere.
So, Chris, if I could turn to you then for the politics of the moment. You had Senator Jeff Flake early on over the weekend say, I'm uncomfortable moving forward with a yes vote until we hear from Ford. It sounds like Senator Grassley is trying to do just that. He put out a statement saying that he has tried to figure out a time to do some phone call interviews, but that Senator Feinstein is not responding.
Well, look, we're on pause. Nothing's going to happen here until the testimony, and it's got to happen. The consensus is forming. I know from talking to some people in a position to know that Republicans want to get this. They want to get on with this. Democrats, interestingly, kind of want to get on with this, too. While a lot of them are pushing for a delay, there's a political consideration here. If this seat remains open, if there's either an extended delay or the Kavanaugh nomination is ultimately taken down, if this seat is open, that puts red state Democrats in a very difficult spot of having to argue to voters that they should be allowed to stay.
That, and then get your take, and then Brit's as we wrap up here, because last weekend on Friday, we would have thought that it would be likely that you could probably get 4 or 5 Democrats to go ahead and vote for Kavanaugh because there's no real reason not to. Do you think that that has changed regardless of what happens in this testimony?
I think for Claire McCaskill, things got a little harder in terms of being able to vote for Kavanaugh, certainly with her base and with her supporters. But there's another political consideration here, too, which is Republicans can't look like ogres, and they can't look like they are brushing aside these considerations when it comes to persuading suburban women voters who are going to be watching how they handle this very, very closely.
Britt, what should we be paying attention to in the next 48 hours or so?
Well, first of all, I think, Dana, the likelihood is this is going to take a while. Democrats will do everything they can to prolong the process. They'll want the FBI possibly to conduct some kind of a full investigation. Because remember, that's where Feinstein referred the matter, and the FBI simply passed it on to the White House. But they'll want to have some preparation for a hearing. They won't agree to a hearing anytime soon. The witness may not. Because they're hoping to stall this to the point where we'll get into October, and if they can somehow stall this past the election, and they get control of the Senate, Kavanaugh would never be confirmed in a Democratic-held Senate. So keep your eye on the set of Republican senators who might be persuadable one way or another. Jeff Flake, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, that group. They're the ones to watch in the days, and I think it'll be weeks ahead.
All right, very interesting. Brit Hume and Chris Darwalt, thank you both.